Hi everyone, welcome to Your Main OT. My name's Amanda, and today we're going to talk about 10 plus ways to use buttons. Now, I found this little container of buttons at the dollar store a while back. I haven't really used them for much, they've kind of been just sitting around the house, but they're a really great therapy tool. So you could always start by having the kids sort the buttons. So you could have them sort by size, so like a large, medium, small, and then mini. You could have them sort by color. So there's some blue ones. Here's a blue one, and then here's like a black or a brown one. Sort by color. Some of them also have words on them. So you could sort by whether they have words or don't have words. You could also sort by the number of holes. So as you can see, this one here only has 2, while this one has 4. You could have them try stacking the buttons to see how big of a tower they can make. This is a really good one to test some problem-solving skills, because if they start with a small button on the bottom and then try to stack it, they're likely going to tip the tower over. You can also observe to see if they try to fill the little divot of the button with something, because some buttons will fit and make kind of like an even surface across, whereas some won't. You can hide some buttons in a little container. They can kind of feel around, work on that stereognosis, see if they can figure out how many buttons are in there. Maybe they shake it and listen, and then they try to estimate the number of buttons in the bag. I'm going to say there's 4 buttons. So then you'd have them open it up and see, oh man, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buttons. And it's also a good way to work on counting. You could hide the buttons around the house in different locations as a scavenger hunt. I would suggest if you do this, you know how many buttons you hid, and probably hide the bigger buttons just so they are easier to find. But it's another fun way for kids to start to acknowledge their environment and have a better idea of what's around them. If you have a big group of people, I know right now it's really hard to get people together with the social distancing, but what you can do is you could play button, button, where is the button? I remember this from my Girl Scout days. You would have one button and everybody would pass it off to each other, and there was one person that would have to guess who had the button. Fun game, super easy, and it does entertain kids for a good long time. So if you have a group, it would be a super easy one, or even in the classroom. I know a lot of therapists will have different containers with a slit on the top, so kids can work on getting that grasp with the index finger, being able to put it through the slit. You could also have, with your older kids, you could actually work on sewing skills, like being able to thread a button and put it on. It's a really good life skill to know, and I had to do it the other day when I was putting on buttons for a headband. So, you can use it in your everyday. So encourage the older kids in your life to learn how to do that. And you could also do some problem-solving skills with that as well, where maybe you decrease the number of cues you give them, or you have them watch a YouTube video on how to do it and then see if they can solve it. Granted, remember it does use a sewing needle, so just have them be careful with that. You know your kiddos, what they can handle, but that gives you another idea. With that, you could very easily make your own button board or button strip. If you have excess fabric, you can just sew 2 pieces together, stitch in a couple of buttons, cut a couple of slits, and before you know it, your younger kids can practice doing their buttons. You could hide the buttons in a sensory bin. I know a couple of weeks ago I talked about using rice in a sensory bin. So you could do that if you had a big bag of rice. You could hide various buttons in it. Just another fun kind of tactile thing for them to feel around for. You could have them thread to make a bracelet. So what I have here for the younger kids, I found out that it does work with my good old handy dandy pipe cleaners. I did have another video about pipe cleaners, so check that out. But you can thread the button onto the pipe cleaners, or you can use regular string. Then you could make a bracelet out of it. Granted, it would be good for them to try different buttons to see what works and what doesn't work. So for example, this is a much smaller button than the other one, and it was a lot harder to thread on and to push through the pipe cleaner. It gave a lot more resistance than the one that has the larger holes versus these little tiny ones. You could also, if you have an excess of buttons, have them try to make different shapes. So you could have them try to make a button person or letters. So if somebody's working on their Magic C, maybe they draw it and then they put the buttons on. It's another good kind of tactile way to feel it, as well as help create more body awareness. So you could say, okay, what button is the head? Where's your head? And then have the kid point to it. So yeah, there you go guys. 10 plus ways to use buttons in your everyday. Hope you have a great week, and make sure you comment below if you have any ideas, questions, or concerns. See you later.